Hey guys, it's Erica from Brains to Beauty, and today I'm here to share with you this new nail tutorial featuring the Pantone colors of the year, Serenity and Rose Quartz, which is a light pink and a light blue. Let's go ahead and get into the tutorial. To start off, I'm going to apply a base coat to all of my nails. Next, I'm going to apply a white quick drying nail polish. Normally I like to use like a matte white, but because I really wanted a quick drying polish since I was going to be adding so many layers, I decided to use this shimmery one from Milani. Of course, I added 2 coats of this to make sure it was opaque and a really good base. Next, I'm going to use a nail barrier, which I got from BornPrettyStore. I'm not sure if this is latex or not. It kind of reminds me of really thick Elmer's glue. Like, it's actually thicker than Elmer's glue because I do have Elmer's glue and I did compare them. They seem like it might be the one and the same, but I'm not entirely sure, and I actually put a really thick layer around all of my nails for gradient. This was the first time I'd used it, and so I didn't realize that it was going to take forever to dry. So lesson learned, don't use a thick layer because this took like 5 minutes to dry. Once that's set in place, I take a makeup sponge and I cut it in half so that I have 2 usable sides. Then I took a light pink and a light blue nail polish and added 2 stripes on the sponge, and then I started the gradient. Here I just dab it all over my nail in an up and down, left and right motion. As I was doing this for the first nail, it occurred to me that the blue really wasn't showing up and the 2 colors were merging together too much, so next time I ended up actually painting on the blue polish on the bottom half of all of my nails and then going back in and adding the pink and blue on top of it. And so what it did was essentially made the blue a lot more opaque, and then I just blended it using the sponge. And then it actually turned out to be a really beautiful, very pastel gradient. Once the gradient was done, I went in with a pair of tweezers and pulled the nail barrier off of my nails, which made for so much of an easy cleanup. Yes, it took 5 minutes for it to dry, but to be honest with you, it would have taken me 5 minutes to wrap my fingers in tape, and then it still would have taken an additional amount of time to clean up around my nails with a nail polish remover. I did have a little bit of mess, so I did go in and clean up a little bit with a precision brush, but other than that, it came off almost completely, which was wonderful because usually I'll still end up having a lot of big blobs even using tape. Once that was done, I set it all in place with the top coat. You definitely want to add a top coat before doing stamping because if you're not very good at stamping, which I'm not that great at stamping, you can always remove your pattern without ruining your nail design underneath, and so having that top coat gives you kind of like this protective barrier. Once the top coat has dried, I went in and I applied the nail barrier again, and this time it's for stamping, and this time I did it with a much thinner layer, and it worked just as well, and it actually dried in about a minute. Next, I'm going to go in with my new Born Pretty items. I did get a new stamping plate, which is a really pretty rectangular plate that comes in a sleeve, as well as a nail scraper, which is like a little clear plastic credit card, and I did get 2 stampers. I got a jumbo sticky stamper and then a rectangular white, like squishy stamper. So for this tutorial, I'm going to use this spiral pattern. And I'm using a really thick black polish, which is just a Sinful Colors black nail polish. And I'm applying a strip and then using my little flexi credit card and swiping the excess polish off. Then I'm using the jumbo stamper, rolling it over the pattern to pick it up, and then I actually take my finger and press my finger into the stamper instead of bringing the stamper to my nail. I've learned over time that you actually get a better pattern when you bring your nail to the stamp versus bringing the stamp to the nail. Then to move on to the next nail, I actually use a lint roller to remove the nail polish off of the stamper. This actually helps with the longevity of your rubber stamp because the acetone will over time break down the rubber, so using a lint roller will actually preserve it. But then for the card and the plate itself, I just used a little bit of acetone with a cotton pad to clean it off. and then I cleaned off the surface with a paper towel to ensure that it was dry before stamping it. Then once it was all ready, I did the same thing. I swiped some black polish onto the pattern, swiped off the excess with the card, and then stamped it. This time the stamp didn't come out as great as I wanted. It was kind of smudged, so instead I lined up my nail so that I just picked up the clean half. And what ended up happening is I ended up with this cool half moon spiral design. And then I wanted to show you the other stamper that I got to show you the size difference and how well it works, and I think it works just as well. It's just not as big, and so for this I actually used it for my pinky nail. I can use it for my other nails, but I think it's a little bit too small for my thumb. So once that was all done, I went in and cleaned up around my nails by pulling off the nail barrier. And this time it worked like a charm. I barely got any excess polish anywhere, and I had very, very little to clean up, which was amazing. And since I didn't put on as much, it was like so much faster to remove, which was awesome. And then to finish off this design, I used a glittery top coat, more of like a sparkly top coat instead of a regular top coat, because sometimes regular top coats have a tendency to smear stamped nail art, but I noticed glittery top coats, their formula are slightly different, so it actually doesn't smear the pattern and it adds this little iridescent glow to it. So that is it for my nail tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys want to see more stamp tutorials or any more nail art tutorials, please let me know down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is Erica from Brains to Beauty.